All right, welcome to the latest episode of the Coleman Power Organic Fitness Podcast. I have most certainly my latest guest here, Susannah Morrissey, who is most certainly a mindful coach. She hosts retreats in the likes of the Kildare area and most certainly all throughout Leinster. Say hello to the likes of the listeners.
Hello, listeners. Hi, I'm so delighted to be here with the powerhouse himself. And it's fantastic in terms of our retreats, what we do. I specialize in retreats for well-being. I'm a yoga trainer and mindfulness coach. And basically, I've been running on wellness now for several years. And I decided to take on the retreats well-being after COVID, really, the whole Corona, coaster we had, in terms of our life work balance. And I found a lot of people really crave me time. And it's become a world where we have no space to think. We have no space to be at one with ourselves. Everything is very distracting now. So I find the world is a distracted place. So never before has mindfulness been more important.
And
Like we
what
all
do you
know.
feel people are struggling with most, Suzanne, on a regular basis?
Well, what I meet and what I find with people is that the anxiety is the highest. People are hugely anxious, and there's a little thing called the amygdala, and it's the emotional hijacker. And just to give a kind of a frame, we have this thing in our system, in our limbic system, that says, "Whoa, when there's a tiger, when we were primitive, oh, there's a tiger." This sort of rings off, but now people are so mentally overstimulated by social media, by not resting, that they're constantly on fight or flight or freeze. So people are on the FFF the whole time. So I find anxiety, which is really fear of the unknown, it's fear of future events appearing real. It's fear, it's real fear. Is really basically making people just stand still. It makes people do really silly things. It makes people think very negative thoughts, and it really has absolutely no use in your mind except to make you more anxious. But it's a very difficult thing to know unless you can observe your thoughts. So you can have anxious thoughts, but that doesn't mean you're an anxious person. And I think what the biggest problem, people, they think I'm an anxious person. Well, no, you're having anxious thoughts at the moment. That doesn't mean you're anxious. It just means you're not recognizing the thoughts, so that once you recognize them, they can be tamed, so to speak. And once you recognize them, it's like a little bubble you press and pop, the anxiety is just less intense. But everybody thinks that they're the only person experiencing anxiety. And I can tell you, everyone is experiencing anxiety at the moment, even mindfulness coaches. So, it's part of life. It's part of life. Well, we feel we shouldn't have anxiety. We feel, where's this imposter coming? I shouldn't be feeling anxiety, but we're overwhelmed. I think we're just overwhelmed and we don't know what to do with that stimulation. So I think the mind has gone into chaos, really. To be
Yeah,
honest, that's what I'm finding.
and more so the likes of, I suppose, the abundance of people on social media and inevitably comparing themselves to other people. Because actually, what ends up happening is when you compare yourself to others, you take away the joy of what you have. Because you have Sally, you have Sarah, you have Paul, you have Michael on the likes of Instagram or Facebook with the flat stomach abs and mostly the hair and the skin that's glowing. And as a result of that, you're there looking, oh my God, I want to be exactly like them. No wonder people are stressed out of their heads. And I suppose what you're doing on a regular basis is the likes of the retreats and the likes of the yoga on a more regular basis.
Absolutely. And I think people have lost connection with themselves. Like they've lost what they want. I mean, life purpose is so important. We only get one shot at this, really. And I think it's easier to compare yourself, like you said, to somebody on Instagram who's made it seemingly, but they don't know the work that's gone into that, creating sort of the lifestyle. Like, from lifestyle living, that it takes enormous commitment, and it's absolutely justified, but it's not easy. Nothing's easy. So as much as managing your body, managing what you eat, managing your thoughts is not easy. And most people would rather basically take out their eyeballs with a spoon than watch their thoughts for 5 minutes. That's the truth. No,
Are there
sorry.
things, yeah, are there things that you do, Susanna, I suppose, to help reduce your own anxiety in preventing you either from comparing yourself to others or, I suppose, de-stressing?
Absolutely. I mean, there's lots of techniques that people have in terms of yoga. I mean, yoga is a practice, it's a system that I would use in terms of movement. Breath work is huge. So I would say that breath work, we weren't born knowing how to breathe, you know, we weren't born knowing um, what the right thing to do to calm our minds. We had to learn that skill. And I think for me, I would teach people pretty powerful, what we call pranayama in yoga. And there are hundreds of techniques that would, it short circuits the monkey mind. So what it says is there is no danger, little one. There is no fear. You're safe. So even in the presence of actual probable crisis, you're not reacting to the crisis. You're responding logically. And that's what I teach to breathing. So the breathing is the pause. Now it's so minute that most people just go from 0 to 100. And that's the technique that you hold. You just basically, if you ever like rode a horse, to hold the pony before you jump the fence. Most people just taking the fence, so you got to know how to hold the reins, and that's your breathing. Now, the strongest people in the world are the ones who recognize that skill, not the ones that react emotionally. Is the ones that stand back and observe. Okay, I'm having a meltdown now. That thought's really negative, but I'm not going to react to it. So I use a thing called STOP technique. There's lots of different acronyms, but I like to teach this one. And STOP is STOP. It's really simple to remember. I hope your listeners will find this useful. Is that you stop, and first of all, if you're amid a crisis or something has panicked you, something has just pulled you into this realm of emotional crazy, okay? It's like sending that text at night to the wrong person. I'm just going to put it that out there. Never text on emotion, okay? That sort of stuff, right? Never break up on text either, guys. Like they're either. I mean, I see all this mad stuff, but that's the emotional hijacker, right? So to stop that response, we stop first of all what you're doing. Key is to take a breath. So you take 3 breaths and you breathe in through the nose like this. Very, very simple. You can do the Q in Tesco's, nobody has a clue, and then hold for 5, exhale. So if that person's irritating you because they're taking too long, that's your amygdala going. You're in fear of flight. So you got to take the breath. Because some people might actually punch somebody. That's how strong those responses are. In cues, exhale. And then you observe your surroundings. So what the breath does, it almost puts a damp cloth on a fire. So if you've ever had a fire in your kitchen and you've put a damp cloth on the fire, that's what your breath does to your reactions. Okay, so they're irrational generally. Because we all know, even though you might be behind that person in the queue who's taken 20 minutes to put their shopping up, your reaction is completely disproportionate to the fact that the poor older person needs that time. So the breath allows you to stop what you're doing, observe around you. So you observe, there's a little old lady, maybe I need to take some time out here and not react, the P is proceed with caution. There's one thing I could teach people: do not react to your emotions. So proceed with caution. What's the next best thing you can do here? And that's controlling the controllables. If you can't do anything, just take another breath and walk away. That's simple.
Just to suppose reiterate that again, it's stop, and it's breaking down to the, I suppose, STOP, the 4 different things that are significant to slowing down and realizing that it's okay to be anxious. Most certainly what you're looking for is an improvement. And that's what people must realize, that not everything is perfect, and nor ever it will be. Perfect doesn't exist. Whether it's the perfect body, whether it's the perfect diet, whether it's the perfect relationship, the perfect amount of money coming in, we're always looking, and we're designed to look for more, but most certainly try to be happy where you are and look for a small bit of improvement.
Absolutely. And like, it's gratitude. It's that gratitude thinking. You wake up and say, thank God. But for me, I think my feet have touched the ground. I'm alive. There's people who are not alive this morning. That's my first thought, and that reframes your whole day. So you're absolutely right. You have to stop perfecting yourself. You just need to get practice about doing the good stuff. So I think I don't strive for perfection, and I think it's an unhappy place. I think I strive for balance and good days, bad days. And you will have bad days, but you could have bad years. So, that's the way I look at it. So people have this sort of idea that everybody has had the happy clappy life. They're jumping around all day happy. It's just not sustainable. Of course, you have happy moments, but like in Buddhism, I guess, not to get religious or anything, but in terms of just the idea is suffering and joy are part of the same life thing. You've got to have suffering, but you have joy. Now, people just really don't want to hear this, They think suffering, I'm going to run as fast as I can away from that. But when I say suffering, is you're making your own mind suffer. It's not anything else. Because what we react to externally is how we suffer. So if we compare ourselves to, as you say, John or Jim or Jenny, that's our own mental suffering we cause ourselves. If you take a breath and say, so fair play to Jenny, that's great. I'm happy for her. I work on compassion. I work on forgiveness. That's the big one. Forgive your foe. Oh, if you can forgive your foe, forgive the people that caused you pain, send them compassion. You're not drinking the poison. They are. Well, and again, maybe that's the wrong way, but you won't be actually digesting that poison forever. Because people do things for all manner of reasons, and sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes things happen, and don't take it so personally, And everybody breaks up with people, Everybody has problems. It wasn't just you're not the only person in the world. So perspective is a great thing, Frame it in perspective. How did I feel about this today? Well, how will I feel about this in 5 years' time? Actually, how will I feel this in 5 days' time? Probably not the same. So that's it. Perspective is great, and gratitude thinking. So these are the kind of things I teach in my workshops. But
yeah. And I'd be a firm believer in actually either starting off your day or finishing your day with writing 3 things down to suppose get you onto a more positive note. Because there is an abundance of doom and gloom out there, whether it's the negativity from the radio or the television, neither that I have or listen to. The point is that people that we hang around with or have to, either in work or family members, are always talking about, did you hear about so-and-so? They're after getting divorced. Did you hear about them? They're most certainly after becoming, I suppose, jobless because of something occurred in the likes of their work. So people are often always mentioning these negative things. What you want to do is actually really surround yourself with positive people and doing and going to maybe different events that give you a different type of energy, connecting with like-minded people. And that's why I love retreats. That's why I love events and meeting people that most certainly are on the same path of definitely, it was an improvement on their current situation. And I want maybe you to expand on the likes of monkey mind. I know that's something that you often discuss and talk about. So if you could let the listeners know a little bit about the monkey mind and what that is.
Absolutely. Well, you'd be surprised to know that we probably have about 350,000 thoughts a day, which is pretty mind-boggling. And most of those repetitive. So what happens is the thought you have can be kind of recycled 10,000 times, which is kind of very scary. So you could have the same thought about somebody who did you wrong, or that you didn't put the washing machine on 10,000 times. So what happens? The mind is actually a machine, and it's built to be a logical machine. But the emotional part of the brain is what the monkey mind is. So what it is, it's like you're literally like a monkey. You're running from. Actually, they say it's like a monkey who's stung by a scorpion jumping through a branch of trees. That's what the mind is in terms of yoga. So what if we do in yoga is we calm the monkey mind through breathing, through embodiment. So we're in the body, and you know this from being a superb trainer and fitness and nutritionist as well, is that if you're not in the body, you're going to like have injuries, or you're not being aware of that muscle is tight and you might overstrain it. Yoga is quite the same, but you're being aware of your body that that doesn't feel right, so I'm not going to push myself there. But actually, that's okay. It's sort of an awareness tool, if you like, yoga. What we use to calm the monkey mind. We use breath, and it's very. There's a lot I can say about yoga. I don't want to get too yogic on people. I mean, I suppose Carl Jung called it psychic hygiene. So what we do is we kind of clean out the rooms of our mind, of stored trauma, stored memories, release. So, you know, you can do it through dance, you can do it through exercise, you can do it through meditation, you can do it through growing plants in your garden. You know, mindfulness is not just sitting in the Himalayas, you know, waiting to be inspired. Like mindfulness is about being in the moment, which is a fleeting thing. I mean, if you get 5 minutes of being in the moment a day, wow, that's great. Like that's an achievement. So, you know, maybe you might get 5 more minutes tomorrow. And then the day after that, you get 15 minutes. So that's this kind of progress where most people get sort of, this stuff is not for me. You know, my mind, first thing meditation, people say to me, you know, my mind is too busy. I don't have time to meditate. But you can scroll your phone for 3 hours and look at other people's lives. But you know what I mean? So, like, it's just an excuse because people are uncomfortable to watch their own thoughts. But once you watch your thoughts and you see all the good, the bad, the ugly, as I call it, the Clint Eastwood, see them all, they become neutral to you. So, like, whether I have a self-loathing thought or whether I have a critical thought, it's just a thought. And my thoughts do not make me. They're just thoughts. But people think they are the thoughts. That's the issue. When you meditate, you create distance. There's the thoughts. As barmy as they all are, I'm still me. And I'm okay. I'm whole. I'm complete. I don't need to be defined by the thoughts I'm having. They're just patterns I've inherited for years and years and years. It's almost like a fossil, you know, you've just taken all that stuff, conditioning, whatever it is. They're just habits of the mind. So once you start breaking them down, you go, you know what? These things are not going to define who I am. So, like you say, those practices, exercise, gratitude, healthy living, they get you into the mindset of thinking better thoughts. And then you will have negative thoughts, but you'll observe them in a much kinder way. And that's it, really, I guess. I mean, was it
Is
hard
there, I
to?
suppose, strategies that you have, I suppose, done over time? Like, because you're quite calm, you're quite cool, you're quite collective. Were you always this way, or were there things that you've done over time that really have, I suppose, been a catalyst to the way you are currently right now?
I would say I have practices and I have rituals in the morning. So I have reset things I do. And I always meditate in the morning, whether I feel like it or not. And for me, that calms my mind initially and allows me to cope with the day. I always look at, like what you said there, in terms of gratitude, not only at the table. I'm sure my family love this, but I always say to them, tell me something you're grateful for. And if it's material, I said, no, no, no. I want to hear something you're grateful for that isn't material. But that's not good enough. So it has to be the birds. If it's a dark day, we'll say the sun is behind the clouds. Give me something. And I've noticed my son, he's almost 19, he started to do this with his friends. It's actually quite funny because I heard him say this to his friends. So it's for me, it's like those little snippets. He's like, what's one thing you're grateful for in this situation? You know, reach for that good, you know. So even if you're in a lousy day, and also if you're having a lousy day, I found accept it. Don't fight it, you know. And maybe don't
Totally.
go out that day. You know, it's okay. But tomorrow you get your pajamas and you put it back in the room, you get showered, you get up and you get active. And I think you can have bad days. So I think allow yourself to have emotional meltdowns. But the next day you gotta practice, it's gonna get you better. So I think it's practice, practice, practice. It's not about anything else that's worked for me except maybe another one I tried is a 5 second rule. I love Mel Robbins. I mean, she's just
Yeah,
amazing. There's lots of coaches
brilliant.
out there. She's just incredible. But she's been through war and she kind of comes up with a thing called the 5 second rule. So as soon as you wake up in the morning and you feel like, oh, I'm going to press that snooze button, don't press that snooze button because that's you delaying your life, basically. And that becomes quite a thing in your life, procrastinate everything, right? So the first thing you do in the morning shapes your day. So she says, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Think of a rocket just going right up like NASA, you know, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You count backwards. So the 5 to 0 allows you to sit down and your brain automatically listen to anything you say to it then because you've disrupted it. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm getting up, I'm getting active, I'm getting alive. Shoot your body up out of the bed and get the hell out of bed. But if you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the body, the brain does not respond. But if you say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it goes, ooh, what's going on here? All these little sort of neurons in the brain, and it says, I had better listen to the next instruction. That works.
I love that. I'm such a firm believer in the idea of getting from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to where you want to be. And that what also really helps with myself and anyone that I would also mentor or coach is definitely having a goal. Either it be personal to, I suppose, maybe lose weight. So that means you're going to have to literally get up out of bed, because really and truly nothing happens in the bed, or maybe one or two things, but realistically towards your fitness goal or your improved health, there's very little that you can do inside in that room. You need to get up, you need to motivate yourself from picking things that you want. And it's the idea that you get 100% of the things that you want in life. Okay, you want to stay in the bed, you'll get extra rest. You want to get up, you want literally a better life, you want to be happier, you want to be healthier, you have to do the things. And when you put into practice the things that you want, you get all the rewards.
Absolutely. And you are a great advocate too. And I totally agree with you on this. That's wise words there, is the power of habit. And as you say, you might be popular because you're the one getting out of bed early. You know, you're the one with a smile on your face, probably annoying people, but you're happy. And I kind of think, you know, let's be honest. We talk about the negative culture in Ireland. You know, like I went to the gym and I don't drink, and it's like such a conversation killer because the person probably down in the pints is not really on your wavelength. But love that person, but they also need to accept you for who you are. So you do need to find your tribe. And I think what you're saying there is very important. You've got to connect with like-minded people. There's no point trying to convert people who will never change their life. And that's okay too. But if you're on that goal, like you say, you're on that path of self-improvement, you take no prisoners. You go for it. And you live just an amazing life. And you will inspire people too with that, which you do. You inspire people every day. Amazing talks, the way you inspire everybody, and so knowledgeable, so practical. All your advice on feeling good, eating well, and you know, creating a great environment. I mean, who wouldn't want to live that life? You know, so I
Yeah,
think
I do believe that people do want to be happier deep down and want to be healthier. And that all comes down to most certainly the foods that you eat and the lifestyle that you live. And we touched on this when we met in person at the weekend of one of your events. And I was doing a talk about nutrition and health at it. The point is, you have to find like-minded people, because inevitably there are people, and this comes from a quote that I've written down before. It's about the Boston crabs. Okay, so all the crabs are put inside in the bucket, and if one of them tries to climb out, inevitably all the rest of them will end up pulling them back in. That's the same thing when you're trying to come out of your current circle of friends, and inevitably they say, "Oh, do you want to come out on Friday night? Do you want to come over? We'll have a bottle of wine, or we're going to have biscuits, chocolates, cakes, or you name the treats that are on offer." The thing is, you have to say no, and often sometimes you have to say no to them to say yes to you, which is 100% key. Too many of us keep saying yes, yes, yes. You're the yes man, you're the yes woman, and that's inevitably pulling you away from the things that you want. You have to decide your habits, and your habits decide your future. Would those same people, if you ask them to get up on a Saturday morning at 7 o'clock and go for a sunrise walk, would they say yes to you? Maybe they inevitably they would say no too. But the thing is, you might inevitably have to find different group of peoples that you can do these healthy activities, because that's the catalyst. Having a group of individuals that do more things that benefit them than most certainly other things, such as alcohol, such as staying up late, because sleep is one of the pillars of health. That's why I'm wearing these fancy ass blue light blocking glasses to help me sleep, because I absolutely love them. And not because I look cool, I don't look cool, but the point is, there's something that really do help me to sleep better, okay? Because light is
wow.
signals to the brain to most certainly stay alert. So I've got a light on here right now, and as a result of that, if I wasn't here on this Zoom call for the likes of recording of this podcast, I would have candlelight. Not to be romantic, I'm a single man more often than not, just to actually help me set my circadian rhythm. So those are just all small things that inevitably I do to improve and be the best version of myself. Because more often than not, people are looking for energy. And when we, I suppose, realize that sleep totally affects our energy levels for the next 24 hours or the next day.
Absolutely. No, you're so right. Like it's the fundamental things like it. And that's a brilliant idea. I love the idea with the glasses. I'll have to get one of those next. I just absolutely you'll have to give me all the information. And you're so right, because sleep deprivation is massive. And you know, you said a brilliant point, which we all took on at the talk and you had at the event, and it was brilliant and such simple, brilliant advice as well. And that's what's great about you is you come out with really practical tips. It's not highfalutin stuff. It's practical. But like just catch the rays in the morning. Just catch that sunlight around the 9, 10, the winter. Don't go out later than the day or walk in the nighttime. And just get that in your, like, just feel that sun walking in your face. And, that alone is going to get you so reset and get your vitamin D. Then you feel better, you have a better breakfast, you have better conversations. It's all there.
It's a knock-on effect. The sooner you start, the sooner you come from 5, the 4, the 3, the 2, the 1, touchdown, you're up, you're out of bed. What do you do now? I'm going to do some yoga. I'm going to do a bit of a workout after my stretch. I'm going to do some grounding. What happens then? You go, bang, I want to have my healthy breakfast. I'm having eggs, I'm having sourdough bread, I'm having whatever, I'm having overnight oats, which I prepared last night. So I'm living such a busy life. I have to go, bang, you're gone, you're into the office, or you're sitting down. All these things are a knock-on effect. So it's the compound result of 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4, 4 + 4 = 8. We won't go any further than that. You are getting better when you start your day. Attack the day. See the sunlight. Get moving.
Get moving. You're so right. Get moving, or get, like, to say, not to put it up, but get dying. I mean, like, you're not moving. That's it. Like, you've got to live your life. And I love that idea, that embrace all those amazing free things out there, with sunlight. What I found interesting, this organic food. I mean, going back, this organic food is expensive or growing. We get this all the time, and I'm not spending this money, but yet people will spend, €6 on a pint of Guinness. Which, like, not that I'm against Guinness drinkers. There's lots of them out there, and healthy drinking, that's up to you. But you need to be investing. It's a bit like Rockefeller says, you should never buy bad furniture, and I mean, he was a hotel guy. Well, you shouldn't buy bad food, because you're going to have to replace your body, I mean, it is everything, but we all think, I think it's the Diet Coke and the Big Mac idea, it neither of them work. You gotta file it down. Actually, it was interesting today. I just was passing by. I was in a newsagent's, like, a pass through. I was doing a bit of work, and I said, go in to get a sandwich. And it was like these big plaza, like these places. Like, there was nowhere on the motorway, so I had to stop. There wasn't one healthy option. Like, literally, I was looking, there were school kids ahead of me, say teenagers, really bad, stodgy food. And the older people were the only people looking for kind of a bit of good food. But then there was a massive fast food generation of cheap, crappy food. And I asked for, like, a turkey brown sandwich with, like, beetroot, maybe no butter. And I looked like a freak. Like, they were looking at me. This one is a freak. And I thought, well, I value my body. I value what I eat. I'm like, it's okay to have some break. As you say, you can have things you like, and it's not being that purist. But I think it shows self-worth. Like, I think it's not arrogance. I think it says, I care about myself. I respect myself, so I'm not going to go for the second. So I think if you pair it down to self-respect on an emotional level, if you respect your body, you wouldn't put that stuff in your body because you like yourself too much. And that's a good thing. Get your self-esteem high. And maybe people don't always like that. It's easy to take the crappy convenience food. It's hard to walk the mile, you can do that. But once you get into the habits, you have a friend to do it, use your mind, you save money, you can do quicker. Like you said last night, you made those before you went to bed. It's a practice, it's non-negotiable. You do it because the next morning it's going to be great. And the next morning after that's going to be great. And you might have the odd morning you don't do it too. That's okay. You're going to have the odd morning. But I think you're so right, like those practices, and you're a disciplined person, you motivate people, and I think you're absolutely amazing, because if people knew your the value that you place on health, but do people put the same value on their own lives? That's the question. They put values on cars, and they put values on how many pairs of shoes they have, but
Yeah.
really what you eat is what you are.
Yeah, you are what you eat, and most certainly who you surround yourself with, which all links us back up into, I suppose, the main topic of this mindfulness podcast with yourself. I suppose just before we wrap it up, I'd love for you to tell the listeners a little bit about any upcoming events that you have in either Johnstown House or where people can most certainly connect with yourself.
Lovely. Well, I'm on Susanna on Wellness on Instagram. It took me just a while to remember that one. I'm a little bit of a dinosaur in this world. And Susannah Morrissey at gmail.com is my email. You might put it up at some stage. But basically, my next event is in the Yurt in Kilmead, which is a massive, cool, sacred yurt in Kilmead in County Kildare. We have a Divine Feminine Day, Awaken Your Divine Feminine, which is Shakti dancing with yoga, meditation, food. So that's our next day out on this 26th of March. But I'm hoping to run an event in June, which we'll announce, hopefully in terms of a wellbeing day with yourself, in terms of having a great tribe of people, learning maybe how to grow their own, or teaching people how to eat, which is massive. So we can do whatever. You're a powerhouse. I mean, my God, I'm honored to have you. So that's with the both of us, the duo, the dynamic duo. Well, you're the dynamic. um, on end of June. Sometime that suits you. So maybe we might come up with a date there that's going to suit both of us, because I know your hectic schedule. It's hard to get to these days. So we'll come up with a sort of a date that suits everybody around the weekend in maybe the end of June, when the sun is high and it's great. And they're the next two events I'm kind of running.